This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Regina Lee.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Good Neighbor Podcast. I am super excited to talk to Jordan Griffin. She is a partner with a law firm in Monroe, Leitner, Bragg, and Griffin. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I think you grew up in the area.
I did. So I'm born and raised in Union County and have been here my whole life. I went to undergrad at Appalachian State up in Boone. Go Mountaineers.
Yay.
And yeah, after 4 years away, I was ready to come back home, and I knew I had a good network here. I knew I wanted to go to law school, and internships are a part of that process. So for me, it made sense to come back home. And I just have always loved the idea of giving back to the community that helped get me to where I am.
Oh, I'm sure. So at what age did you go, ooh, I want to be an attorney?
So growing up, I would have always told you I'm going to be the first female president. That's what was kind of the running joke in high school, and, you know, my superlative and all of those things. So politics is where I originally saw myself. And then in college, going through all of the classes that are part of the poli-sci major, I learned that it's actually the law that I was more interested in, as opposed to the politics specifically. So that's kind of where I shifted gears and started doing internships and realized that the law was where I wanted to be.
Well, that is amazing. So this is a hometown law firm. Now, the firm, let's talk a little bit about them in generalities, because you guys do it all. Tell us what a comprehensive law firm means.
Yes, so it is a little unusual to find a law firm now that does it all, or does almost all of it. It's more of an old school way of how law firms used to be. So previously, I'd say a couple of generations ago, attorneys knew how to and were well versed in all areas of law. So they could help you do a speeding ticket, they could get you a divorce, they could sue a company for you, whatever. They kind of handled everything. And then as the years went past, especially over the past 10 years, people got very specialized. Firms became, you're a criminal law firm, or you're a family law firm, or you're a state law firm. Everybody was very focused on one area of law and doing a really good job at that one thing. And so that's a nice thing to have. And that's the kind of practice I came from, was a family law firm. But I liked the idea of being able to be a part of something where we can help you at any phase of life, help any of your family members with any kind of legal matter you may encounter. I got so used to a family law client calling in and saying, I need a will, or my son got a speeding ticket, and having to refer them out to other attorneys who handled those things. Right. When T and Ellie and I got together, we all do different kinds of law. And so the idea was, if we can come together and build a firm, we can help you really from birth until death with whatever legal need you encounter, or that your family encounters, so that you become family to us. We think of our staff as family, and then our clients are able to be a part of that with us.
What kind of law do you specialize in?
So I am a board certified family law specialist, and then I'm also certified to mediate family law cases in North Carolina. So I only practice family law. My law partners handle basically everything else. So T does criminal law and some civil litigation. Ellie does civil litigation and personal injury. We have an attorney here who's getting into immigration law. So really anything other than workers' compensation and real estate closings, we cover it. So it's been nice to see how people can cycle through just about every attorney in the firm at some point.
It's a great concept. I love it. How did you know family law was where your heart was?
So my original internship was with a local family law firm. And I wasn't sure at that point if that's what I wanted to do, but it was the first opportunity that I had, and I took it, and actually ended up just falling in love with it. It's a very complicated area of law to practice in. It can be very emotional. You have clientele who are going through usually the very worst time in their life. They're having to split up their children, their money, their, everything. Their whole life is changing. And so it can be a very difficult area of law, and a lot of people for that reason avoid it and don't want to practice. But I just felt myself drawn to it. I felt myself drawn to the clientele and to just helping people kind of dig in and figure out, how do we make this work for what your new family is going to look like? And I had a passion for it. It's part of why I got certified to mediate, because I actually like helping people find that middle ground too. I can be in the courtroom one day duking it out on behalf of a client, and I can be in mediation the next day helping two people find where is that middle ground. So I enjoy it all.
So does that sometimes happen? They start duking it out and then it can go to mediation?
Yeah, a lot of times. And so North Carolina actually requires mediation for both custody and division of marital assets and debts before you can go to court. So it's required in almost every case. So even in cases where there's no way these people are settling, they're still required to do it, just to put in that good faith effort. So yeah, that happens a lot.
Oh, wow. I wasn't aware of that.
Mhm.
So that leads me to wonder, if you're that person listening and you are contemplating, what advice do you give for someone who is looking for that next step? Who do I call? How does this work? What do you recommend?
My best recommendation with looking for the right attorney for you is to talk to people in your community. There are attorneys who travel all around the state, and there are attorneys who are very focused on practice in their local area. And I would tell you that I think hiring an attorney in your local area who knows your judges, knows the other attorneys, knows the system and the local rules, to me is beneficial to the client. So I would go directly to your community. We have, local mom Facebook pages and family Facebook pages here, where people will just ask, hey, who have you used as your attorney? And you can see there's a lot of feedback there, both positive and negative, but it gives people the opportunity to get feedback from the people who have actually used these attorneys. So I think that's a good starting place to get a couple of names. And then I would go have consults with at least two attorneys, because the experience you have with one may be completely different than the experience you have with the other. And I think once you've met with your right person, you're going to have that feeling and know, I'm going to be in good hands with this person. They are competent. They are confident. They understand what I'm saying. We click, personalities meshing, I think, is important to make sure you feel comfortable with your attorney.
What are some of the misconceptions in family law?
I would say one misconception is regarding mediation. So a lot of people are of the mindset of, I do not want to go to court. I don't want to make this nasty and ugly. I want to go just mediate, which is a great thing. Mediation to me is one of the number one tools that a family law attorney should be using. With that said, if you're mediating without attorneys, the mediator can't actually draw up a binding document for the two of you. Our ethics rules actually prevent it. So even though you come to mediation and may reach a global agreement, you'd still have to either draw up your own agreement to sign or hire an attorney to do that. So I always tell people, if you want to mediate, great. Still hire an attorney and let your attorney book a mediation so that you not only have your own representation, but you have somebody who can draft up that final agreement. So I think that's one big one. I'd say the only other biggest one about family law specifically would be that it has to be contentious. People come into a divorce situation and think it's going to be ugly and we're going to duke this out. And it just really does not have to be that way. And I think part of that in your consultation with your attorney, you'll get a good feel for whether that attorney is open to helping you resolve your case as quickly as possible and as beneficially as possible outside of the courtroom, or whether they just want to race to the courthouse and go duke it out with somebody and bill you a lot in attorney's fees. So it doesn't have to be ugly.
So you just brought something I didn't know. If someone were to Google mediators, you're saying that there are mediators that are not attorneys.
Correct. There are mediators who are not attorneys, so they can mediate for you, and they're allowed to do that. But they then, an attorney mediator. So if you are a mediator and you are an attorney, that person cannot, by the ethics rules in North Carolina, mediate your case and be the person to draw you up a binding separation agreement or court order, anything like that. You would still have to have someone else draw up that document. So that's what I mean when I say mediation is a great tool. I would still always have your own representation with you.
Got it. Well, it's such a complicated process. My goodness. Mm-hmm. So in your journey, becoming a partner, growing up in this area, were there any hardships that hit you along the road?
Yeah. And I use the word hardship mildly because I know, there are people who go through so many significant things. I went through my own divorce at age around 23. So in the early years of my law practice, I say it's made me a better family law attorney because I've actually experienced it and I know the emotions of it. I know, what it feels like to be the client, so to speak. And then I actually remarried the same person. So I've been kind of on.
No way.
So I've been in all aspects of family law myself. So it's, for me, an interesting perspective, but it was definitely a hardship at the time to be going through that and also, having to help my clients navigate that. And then also just the hardship of starting a practice, leaving what is a well-established firm in our community to kind of take that leap of faith and have that confidence in myself and in my law partners. It's not an easy thing to do and it's a little scary, but it definitely has paid off. And I'm proud to sit here today and look at what we've built in just the few years that we've been doing it.
Well, I love that. And it sounds like we need a podcast part 2 to talk about remarrying your first husband. That doesn't happen often. That is awesome. I can't hear that story. So when you're not being a busy attorney, what do you guys do for fun?
Yeah, right now my life is all about our kids. So they keep us very busy. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and our 4-year-old has started getting into sports. So we have t-ball and soccer and all of the things. So just entertaining them. I've gotten into golf over the past year. And so that's kind of my way to unwind a little bit. Yeah. Luckily, I don't get frustrated by golf. I'm not good at it by any means, but it's, to me, the ball will go where it goes and I will follow.
And you get to be outside in such beautiful places. Do you take the kids to the course?
We take them, we'll do like the driving range some. They're still, not quite big enough that we could go really play with them. But they do, especially our son. He likes to go hit balls and do those. So.
Well, they'll be your cart driver at some age. That's what I was as a kid. And it was actually a lot of fun being able to drive the cart. Well, I love the joy I see in your face. I can tell you're very passionate about what you do. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. I look forward to seeing you out in the community. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpsouthcharlotte.com. That's gnpsouthcharlotte.com or call 980-351-5719.